what led to the founding of Amnesty?
That came later, but through Joan Baez, I met this. Her political mentor was a political activist called Ira Sandpearl, and he'd been her English teacher first, and then they had campaigned against for civil rights and against the Vietnam War together. And he was a big bibliophile, and through him I got a great love and interest in literature, and particular I would have my heroes would be Albert Camus and Aldous Huxley, and through them sort of the love of the art of literature. But when I came back to Ireland in 1982, we in Amnesty Ireland were the beneficiaries of an art auction to benefit Amnesty, organised by an Irish artist whose portrait of Samuel Beckett is off on the wall there. It's sort of an impressionistic. And Louis Le Brocq and his wife organised an art auction, and they persuaded Francis Bacon to give an oil painting. And the art auction made £140,000, 70,000 of which was this one Francis Bacon. And with that money, we bought our first building, moved from rented premises, and it opened in 1980, early 85. And these four young, I was going to say brats, maybe I will say brats, but these four young brats called Bono, Edge, Larry and Adam showed up at the opening.
Yeah, those guys.
And I knew sort of who they were, but not an awful lot, about them. They hadn't really broken through in the US at that time, but they came along, and that was their first engagement with Amnesty. And then in 1986, the director of Amnesty USA, a lapsed Irish-American Franciscan priest who had worked in the Peace Corps in Lesotho, in fact, had the idea to organise this music tour, which was the Conspiracy of Hope tour, and for 6 concerts across America, the reformed Police, U2, Lou Reed, Joan Baez, the Neville Brothers came together and sang 6 concerts, and I persuaded Aer Lingus to fly me and my colleague Mary Lawler over to the final concert in Giant Stadium. And that tour across the States, it transformed Amnesty USA. They doubled their membership within about 6 weeks. So you saw, firsthand how art in the form of music could engage people in a way that, cerebral barristers and lawyers talking about the merits of human rights don't really quite cut it in that sort of visceral way. And then in 1987, the year after that, I was elected as a boy in almost short pants. I was 29 onto the International Board of Amnesty. And in 1988, Jack Healy organised the Human Rights Now tour, which was 30 concerts over 6 weeks, which couldn't get into South Africa at the time, so it played in that strong democracy, Zimbabwe. Couldn't get into Chile, so we played in Mendoza in Argentina, but played in Hungary, played in still communist Eastern Europe at that time, and played in Cote d'Ivoire and India and every place in between. And that was Bruce Springsteen, Sting, Peter Gabriel, Tracy Chapman and Youssou N'Dour. Or as my then secretary at the time used to type his name when I dictated it as used to endure, which phonetically sounded right, but I'm sure...
but does no justice to him or his beautiful voice. Yeah.
And that was an extraordinary tour. That concert tour played to about 2.5 million people and brought the message of universal human rights to people, who, a lot of people who hadn't heard of it before. So that was really the demonstration of how art and human rights could go hand in hand together. So we, in May 2003, I had the idea to start Art for Amnesty, and I persuaded the then Secretary General Irene Khan and 6 directors of the large Amnesty sections to go along with it. And that's when it all started. And some people still call it Artists for Amnesty or Arts for Amnesty, but I was very precise. It is art because it's art in all its forms that exists for Amnesty.